Picture this. It is a freezing, bone-chilling evening on November 29, 2004. We are at the prestigious Beijing Institute of Technology. Students are rushing to the cafeteria, wrapped in heavy coats. Suddenly, a shadow drops from the 12th floor balcony of a dorm building. At first glance, the entire campus goes into total shock. Everyone assumes it's another tragic case of a stressed student making an unthinkable choice to end it all. But when investigators arrive and look closer at the scene, they realize something terrifying. This was no accident. This was a staged scene. Someone had orchestrated a fatal fall to cover up a dark, twisted secret. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are diving deep into a true crime story that will mess with your head. We are going to unpack the psychology of a brilliant, top-tier PhD student whose hidden double life led to the ultimate tragedy. To understand how this horrific event happened, we have to rewind and look at our main guy today. Let's call him Yin. Yin was born in 1977 in a tiny, impoverished farming village. And when I say poor, I mean his parents couldn't even read a single word. But Yin was a genius. From the moment he could hold a pencil, he was getting straight A's. In his village, he wasn't just a smart kid, he was the golden ticket. His parents drilled it into his head every single day. You have to study hard. You have to go to college. You are our only way out of poverty. Guys, the pressure on this kid was unimaginable. It wasn't just emotional pressure, it was literal sacrifice. To fund Yin's education, his two younger sisters were forced to drop out of school entirely and go back to doing manual labor. Their futures were literally cancelled so Yin could succeed. Because of this massive guilt, Yin grew up extremely quiet, cautious, and frugal. He never got into fights. He never spent money on fun. He was the perfect, obedient son, and his hard work paid off. By 1996, he got into a great university, and by 2000, he was accepted into the Beijing Institute of Technology for his master's, eventually pushing straight into his PhD. He was literally working on highly classified national defense projects. He was a national talent. On paper, Yin's life was flawless. He even had the perfect girlfriend back in his hometown. Let's call her Lily. Lily was gorgeous, deeply in love with him, and incredibly supportive. While Yin was in Beijing studying, Lily stayed behind to work, and she literally sent him a portion of her paycheck every single month to help him survive in the expensive city. Yin's professors loved him, his classmates respected him, he was the golden boy. But behind closed doors, Yin was suffocating. Beijing is a massive, lonely city. His girlfriend was thousands of miles away. His daily life consisted of waking up, going to the lab, staring at complex data for 16 hours, and going back to a cold, empty dorm room. He didn't drink, he didn't party, and he had no outlet for his stress. The pressure to be the perfect son, the perfect student, and the perfect boyfriend was quietly eating him alive from the inside. It's July 2003, the loneliness finally gets to him. Late at night, glowing in the light of his computer screen, Yin logs into an anonymous chat room. He chooses the username Hero. Suddenly, a message pops up from a stranger with the username Fleeting. They start chatting in English. They talk about pop music, their hobbies, their academic backgrounds. Yin finds out that Fleeting is a 23-year-old girl. Let's call her Chloe. Chloe had just graduated from college and was working a boring office job in Beijing designing heating systems. Like Yin, she had a very small social circle and spent most of her free time online. When Chloe found out that the guy she was talking to was a 26-year-old PhD student at a top university, she was instantly mesmerized. To her, Yin was a celebrity. For Yin, Chloe was a breath of fresh air. She didn't expect him to be perfect. She didn't know about his poor family or his sister's sacrifices. In that chat room, he wasn't the burdened golden child. He was just Hero. They started talking for hours every single night. The virtual connection became an addiction for both of them. After 3 months of intense online chatting, they finally decided to meet in person in November 2003. When they met, Yin was actually a little bit disappointed. Chloe was a very ordinary-looking girl, a bit on the heavier side, and completely different from his beautiful, elegant girlfriend back home. But Chloe was sweet, down to earth, and completely obsessed with him. She looked at him with so much admiration that it fed his ego. She even jokingly hinted, "I wonder if we are destined to be more than friends." And Yin, trying to be polite, casually replied, "We are already friends." That one casual sentence sent Chloe into a total tailspin of infatuation. She fell deeply in love with him. A few weeks later, in early December, Yin invited Chloe out to a small restaurant near his university. During dinner, Chloe kept dropping heavy hints about her feelings. Yin tried to dodge the subject, knowing his real girlfriend was 10 times better for him, but the alcohol started flowing. They drank a lot, like a lot. Intoxicated and caught up in the moment, Yin insisted on walking Chloe back to her rented apartment. And guys, this is where the irreversible mistake happened. Driven by loneliness and alcohol, the two of them crossed the line. They spent the night together. When the sun came up the next morning, the reality of what they had done hit Yin like a freight train. He was paralyzed with guilt. He sat there, silent, staring at the floor. But Chloe looked at him with absolute joy and said, "I truly love you. I promise to love you for the rest of my life." Yin's heart dropped into his stomach. For him, this was a massive mistake, a momentary lapse in judgment, an alcohol-fueled one-night stand. He had absolutely zero intention of leaving his loyal, long-term girlfriend who was literally funding his life. But for Chloe, this physical intimacy meant they were locked in. She thought, "He is a good, honest PhD student. We just slept together. Obviously, we are getting married." In fact, she was so thrilled that the minute Yin left, she picked up the phone, called her parents back in her hometown, and proudly announced that she had secured a genius PhD boyfriend, and they were going to get married. Yin thought he could just brush this off, apologize, and slowly fade out of her life. He had no idea that he had just stepped into a psychological trap that would eventually destroy both of their lives. The nightmare was just beginning. So reality sets in. Yin knows he messed up, and he tries to pull away. He sits Chloe down and says, Look, we are too different. We don't have a foundation. A relationship between us is just not going to work." But Chloe is completely blinded by her own fantasy. She looks at him and says, "What do you mean? I gave myself to you. We crossed that line. I already told my family about you. You have to take responsibility for me." Guys, this is where the toxic attachment really begins. Yin tries to distance himself. He buries himself in his lab work, doing everything he can to ghost her. But Chloe is relentless. She feels used and betrayed. So, what does she do? She weaponizes her family. She calls her dad back in her hometown, crying her eyes out, claiming she is so devastated that she might make a permanent, tragic choice if Yin leaves her. And her dad? He steps in. He calls Yin directly. "My daughter told me everything. We are so proud she found a PhD student. You need to come to our hometown immediately so we can meet you." Yin is terrified. He is a coward when it comes to confrontation. Instead of saying no, he agrees to go. Fast forward to early 2004. Yin travels to Chloe's hometown. Her family treats him like an absolute king. They are parading him around to their relatives, showing off their brilliant, soon-to-be son-in-law. But Yin is sitting there, sweating, feeling like he's in a psychological prison. Finally, he gathers a tiny bit of courage. While sitting in their living room, he tells Chloe's father that he wants to break up. The father absolutely explodes. He points his finger at Yin and screams, "You played my daughter. You took advantage of her. You are nothing but a broke, rural country boy. Can you even afford to compensate her for the damage you've done?" Yin is humiliated. He is completely stripped of his dignity. He literally packs his bags and flees the town, heading straight back to Beijing. He thinks that if he just changes his phone number, the nightmare will end. He was so wrong. Yin changes his personal cell phone number, completely cutting Chloe off. But Chloe's father is not a guy who just lets things go. He does some digging, makes a few calls, and manages to track down the direct landline to Yin's highly classified university lab. One afternoon, the lab phone rings. Yin answers it. It's Chloe's dad. The father says, "Did you really think you could hide from me? Let me make this very clear. If you do not take responsibility for my daughter, I will personally march into your university. I will find your program directors. I will expose exactly what you did to her. I will make sure you lose your degree, lose your reputation, and are publicly ruined." Guys, you have to understand what this specific threat meant to Yin. Yin's entire existence, the sacrifices of his uneducated parents, the ruined futures of his two sisters, everything was riding on this PhD. The thought of a public scandal destroying his academic career didn't just scare him, it completely broke his mind. From that phone call onward, Yin's mental state rapidly deteriorates. The harassment becomes a daily occurrence. The lab phone rings constantly. Yin is living in a state of absolute, sheer terror. He stops speaking to his classmates. He starts making critical, dangerous errors in his classified defense research. His professor pulls him aside, asking what's wrong, but Yin just lies and says he's tired. But he wasn't just tired, he was psychologically shattered. In his diary from that time, investigators later found deeply disturbing entries. He wrote, "I am pathetic. I am a tragedy. There is no future for me. This is all self-inflicted. I planted this seed, and now I have to eat the poisoned fruit." He stops sleeping. He wakes up 3 or 4 times a night, pacing his dorm room, sweating profusely. He stops eating. He loses an alarming amount of weight. His skin turns a grayish, sickly color. It got so bad that on November 23, 2004, Yin was just walking down the street in Beijing, minding his own business, when a police patrol car suddenly pulled over. The officers jumped out and detained him. Why? Because Yin looked so incredibly emaciated, hollowed out, and paranoid that the police genuinely thought he was a heavy user of illegal substances. He literally had to pull out his university PhD ID card just to prove he was a student and not a street addict. That is how physically and mentally destroyed this guy was. The blackmail was eating him alive, and as the 1-year anniversary of their fatal mistake approached, the tension was about to reach its absolute breaking point. We are now at November 29, 2004, exactly 1 year to the day since Yin and Chloe made that fatal mistake. Yin's mental state is hanging by a single fragile thread. He is paranoid, exhausted, and pushed to the absolute brink. Suddenly, his new cell phone rings. The number is unknown. Yin answers it, and his blood runs entirely cold. It's Chloe. She somehow tracked down his new private number. She tells him she is coming to his university dorm and demands to see him. Yin's first instinct is to run, but he is completely paralyzed by fear. He knows if he ignores her, she might go straight to the university administration. So, shaking with anxiety, he tells her to come up to his room on the 12th floor. Chloe walks into the dorm room. Yin looks at her and practically begs. He says, "We are over. Please, I am begging you, stop calling me. Stop letting your father terrorize my lab. My academic career is already falling apart because of this. You are ruining my name." But Chloe isn't there to make peace. She sits down, looks at this broken, terrified genius and casually says, "I finally found you again. Why would I ever let you go? I will keep calling. You care about your reputation. I care more. Aren't you afraid of losing everything?" Guys, you have to put yourself in Yin's mind in that exact second. This girl and her father have been holding his entire life, his family's sacrifices, and his future hostage for months. They had psychologically tortured him, and hearing her say she was never going to stop, that she would willingly destroy him, the psychological pressure cooker finally exploded. In a fraction of a second, Yin's mind went completely blank. Every ounce of fear, stress, and suppressed rage took over. He lunged forward. What followed was a sudden, fatal physical altercation. Chloe didn't scream. Maybe she thought he was just trying to scare her, but Yin wasn't thinking anymore. He was acting out of pure, blind panic, trying to silence the source of his unending nightmare. Minutes passed. When Yin finally snapped out of his blind rage and realized what he was doing, it was too late. Chloe had lost her life. She was gone. Yin stares at her. The reality of the situation hits him. His brilliant career, his family's hopes, his freedom, it is all permanently over. But the human survival instinct is terrifying. In a desperate, chaotic attempt to cover up what he had just done, Yin dragged Chloe's body to the balcony of his 12th floor dorm. He pushed her over the edge. He staged a tragic fall, desperately hoping that the police and the university would just assume the pressure of life had gotten to her, and she made a tragic choice to end it all. But literally seconds after he did this, one of his classmates walked into the dorm room. By the time Yin's academic advisor rushed to the scene, Yin was in a state of complete psychosis. He was sitting in the corner of his room, staring blankly at the wall, mechanically chewing on an apple like a robot. When his professor asked him what happened, Yin just looked up with dead, empty eyes and said, "Professor, I don't think I can get past this one." The police arrived and Yin didn't even try to lie. He confessed to everything. During the investigation, psychiatric experts evaluated him and found that the months of severe blackmail and psychological torment from Chloe and her father had induced a severe depressive state, severely impairing his impulse control. But a crime is a crime. On July 22, 2005, this once brilliant national defense researcher stood in court. He was sentenced to life behind bars. The court also ordered him to pay a massive financial compensation to Chloe's family. But Yin's parents were poor farmers. They had absolutely nothing. In a heartbreaking final moment, Yin's classmates actually passed around an envelope, donating their own money to help his poor family. A single night of weakness, a toxic obsession, and the relentless pressure to be perfect, it all combined into a perfect storm that completely destroyed two families. This case is one of the most tragic things I've ever researched. Yin was not a monster. He was a guy pushed beyond the limits of human endurance. But it shows you how dangerous it is to let a toxic situation fester. If someone is blackmailing you, threatening you, or holding your life hostage, do not try to handle it alone. Speak up. Get professional help. Because if you let the pressure build up, your mind will betray you. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comments. Was life behind bars the right sentence? Drop your thoughts, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.